Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. We're going to talk about the news that broke over the weekend that I did not cover because the game was about to start with the Panthers. But that is Sean Payton being allowed to be interviewed with the Broncos. The Broncos did call the Saints. They had to ask for permission to interview Sean Payton, and the Saints obviously are going to grant those people permission if teams want to talk to him. That's big news. That's big news. He's talking to the Broncos, which means I think he's going to be open to listening to almost any team because no one wants to really go coach in Denver. They look pathetic this year. They really don't have any, draft capital, even though they did get a first-round pick from that Bradley Chubb trade. He's going to be willing to listen to any and everybody, in my opinion, which will only be a good thing for the Saints, man. It's probably about 6 or 7 teams that's going to need head coaches this upcoming season. Maybe he'll be interested in 3 to 4 when all the dust settles. If that's the case, the Saints are going to be in good position because now you have 3 to 4 teams kind of bidding and vying for Sean Payton. Obviously, they're going to have to work things out on their end, and then we're going to have to work things out on, our end, as in, compensation and things like that. But the more the merrier, so I hope every team in the NFL that needs a head coach is interested in Sean Payton. The interesting and funny thing about this is Sean Payton works on TV right now. He's working for Fox, so he couldn't avoid these questions. They were definitely going to get asked to him, and Fox definitely want, him to answer these questions just because that brings viewership to their channel, to their network. So he basically gave about a 3 or 4 minute interview talking about, his coaching future, what he desires in teams. And we'll kind of go through that interview a little bit and talk about some things he said.
Your name's all over the news, Coach. Yesterday, we saw the report that the Broncos have reached out to the Saints to discuss potentially speaking with you. For the audience at home, what is your current contract status with the Saints, and how can teams speak to you?
Yeah, so listen, I appreciate you asking, and I have 2 years left on a contract with New Orleans, so 23 this upcoming year and 24. So because of that, any team that would want to inquire or speak with me can do so. They just need permission from the Saints.
Right now, we all know that the Broncos already reached out to the Saints. I said it already. Everybody said it already. We saw it over the weekend. But this is very interesting because the Broncos obviously have Russell Wilson. Maybe, he's not the same guy in Seattle, but if Sean Payton gets a hold of Russell Wilson, who knows? The sky is the limit. Also, they have a new ownership group. They're owned by the Waltons, basically. The guys that own Walmart and Sam's and a million of other things. So the money's long. They're going to have good new ownership, and they have the money. So, I mean, that's 2 things that Sean Payton's going to talk about a little later, about ownership, GM, and things like that.
And then down the road, if that's something that materializes into anything else, then there would be compensation required, much like a player trade. Denver's the first team, and I was able to have a conversation with their owner, and that's kind of the protocol. So it would go team to Saints. And then the interview process can't officially begin until the 17th of this month. Okay. So that's really where it's at.
All right. Like he just said, man, the day that he can start getting interviewed is only a week away, basically. A week away on the 17th of January. So if teams don't call right now, the Saints asking for Sean Payton, don't be alarmed, don't be disturbed. They may just be waiting. Also, teams have to, kind of do their evaluations of their own teams, and fire their own coaches, make decisions on that. So obviously teams aren't going to be calling right away. Only 2 teams I think that have fired their coach right now have been the Texans. Obviously, the Broncos and the Colts have Jeff Saturday, and I'm assuming he's not going to come back. So it's only a couple teams without coaches right now. Today, some heads are going to roll, probably tomorrow and, later this week. And once that happens, I'm sure more and more teams going to call Sean Payton, or I guess call the Saints about, talking to Sean Payton. And the Saints can say no. That's the thing. The Saints can say no. So say if the Falcons called the Saints and say, we want Sean Payton, we could just hang up and say, hey, fuck y'all.
All right, so January 17th, you can officially speak to teams. They need to ask, are there any teams that are completely off the board? That hey, because they're in your division or because you got history, you just cannot go to those teams?
It's a good question. I don't think that's the case. If we historically looked at this scenario, it happened way back with Don Shula when he left the Colts and went to the Dolphins. It happened more recently with Parcells leaving the Jets that are in the AFC East, going to the Patriots.
And vice versa, Patriots to
and
the
then
Jets.
Belichick, vice versa, and Belichick from the Jets to the Patriots. So you've seen it in the division.
Now, this is what I like to hear right here. They asked him, was any team off limits? Hey, from the Bears to the Colts to the Texans to the division teams, This man said, no, that's not the case. I love to hear that because obviously it's going to have to be twofold. He's going to want to have to go there, which he seems to be willing to listen to anybody. But the Saints will have to trade him there. So say if he wanted to go to the Panthers or the Falcons and they agreed to some things, but the Saints didn't want him to go there, the Saints could say no. Say the Saints got 2 first-round picks from the Colts, and they want him to go there, but he doesn't want to go there. He can say no. So it's going to kind of have to be, both teams, both sides are in agreement on things. Obviously, Sean Payton's going to probably have to commit first before the Saints can just trade him because he's going to obviously have to want to go there. But the Saints can always say no. If they don't want him to go to a certain team, I doubt they'll do that no matter what team he picks, just because if you don't trade him now, you just won't get compensation for him later on down the line.
Outside the division.
My last question, because I think everyone's looking at these and they're connecting the dots and they're saying, okay, well, Russell Wilson's in Denver and the quarterback and this thing. Is quarterback everything for you? I know you're a quarterback offensive guru. Is that the deciding factor?
I think, look, I love my job here.
All right, now right here, the guy asks another great question. Is quarterback going to be the deciding factor for you? Do you want a team with a high draft pick where you can go draft one of these young guys, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or something like that? Or is it other things? Now, Sean Payton, he kind of answers this slowly, and he's going to give you a BS answer, but I can see the smirk on his face. He went into coach mode right here. He wants a quarterback. Obviously, he was with Drew Brees for basically his entire career. And I think the quarterbacks we had just threw him into retirement. He had to coach Ian Book, Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill. And he was like, you know what? I'm out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. Kind of half kidding on that, of course. But obviously, he's going to want a quarterback. He's an offensive guy. He's going to need a quarterback for his system. He really, really wanted to go to the Chargers. I know he's hurt that they made the playoffs, but we'll see how this ends up. And let's watch how he answers this question because I think it's a bunch of BS, and I'll tell you why.
And that's, like, the roster here is pretty good. When you got Michael Strahan at one end, Howie Long at the other end, Charles is handling the back end. I got Terry as a starting quarterback. I got Mike Vick as my.
Get me fired up here. Let's go.
I got a lot of pieces here. I think that it's really about the triangular relationship, ownership, front office, head coach. When we went to New Orleans, and I say we because there were a lot of people involved, the quarterback was unsettled at that time. So I think ownership and the functionality of the front office is most important.
Real quick, though, it's not a sure thing you're taking any of these jobs. You might be back here.
Yeah, I just went through the lineup. It's pretty good.
Now, right here, he's talking about the lineup at Fox, and he's full of it. He just doesn't want to give too much away to the public, to these teams. He wants them to talk to him face-to-face, over a phone call or something like that, because he obviously wants to coach. But like he said, he gets paid handsomely. He didn't say it, but he basically said it. Gets paid a lot at Fox. Not really stress-worthy. Had the good staff there, good people there, and he did say, hey, owner, GM, coach. Let me let you know one thing. He's going to want to do what he wants when it comes to the draft, when it comes to player personnel. So the GM is going to have to be on board with that. Not a lot of GMs are going to like that, but basically by the end of his tenure with the Saints, he was almost doing what he wanted when it came to the player personnel. Look at our receiver room for the last 4 or 5 years of his tenure. He stuck with those receivers until the wheels fell off, like bad, to his own detriment at sometimes. But he had the power to do so. I'm sure he's going to want the power to do so wherever he goes in the future. So the GM and the owner are going to have to be understanding that he's going to want player control. You can have the GM title, but I'm going to want to do it. So he's definitely going to want that. And this is about to get interesting. This is going to get very, very interesting. Obviously, if I'm just going off top of my head, the Cardinals are probably going to be looking for a new coach. We know the Broncos. We know the Colts. We know the Texans. So that's already 4 teams right there. Maybe the Raiders get rid of McDaniels after 1 year. I doubt it. Panthers are going to be looking for a new coach. It's going to be a lot of teams, looking for a new coach. Maybe if the Cowboys get, embarrassed by the Bucks, they'll be looking for a new coach. Or maybe the Bucks will be looking for a new coach. And we already know he has those Tom Brady ties, who's going to be an upcoming free agent. So we have to look at all those things, man. I think he's going to wait until after the Super Bowl, until all of that settles, to see what kind of free agent quarterbacks are out there, to see where all these draft picks are aligned, to see if the team that he wants to go to can actually get a quarterback or have the capital to get a quarterback or have the trade capital to get a quarterback. So it's a lot of things. And technically you can't trade a coach for a player. So you can't just be like, hey, let's just make up a team. The Texans, we want Brandon Cooks in a second-round pick for Sean Payton. You can't really do that. So what you have to do, you got to get kind of creative. Say we'll just use the Texans and Brandon Cooks as an example again. If you want Brandon Cooks, we will trade you Sean Payton for a first-round pick. and then we'll give you a 7th for Brandon Cooks. Now, obviously, a 7th for Brandon Cooks would never work, but in totality, it'll be 2 different trades, but at the end of the day, it'll be Sean Payton and a 7th-round pick for a 1st-rounder and Brandon Cooks, but it'll just be 2 separate trades. So you'll have to get creative like that because you can't trade players for coaches, but you can do 2 separate trades. So it's all, it's a loophole. It's a gray area right there. But, the NFL will step in and probably find a way to veto that from the Saints and not let them trade Sean Payton at all. So we'll definitely be on the lookout on this Sean Payton news and Sean Payton things because it's about to get interesting this offseason. Hey, and maybe Dennis Allen's not safe. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure he is. That's all I got on Sean Payton. Let me know the destination y'all think he's going to in the comments below. And as always, this is the Boo Tragedies. I'm out.
So one last time, let's make them hear it. The greatest